My name is Curtis Owen Pearsey, and I was born in Haskell, Texas, on November the 5th, 1924. We lived in Dallas, Fort Worth area when my mother and dad broke up, and my mother wanted to go to beauty school, and the people that owned the beauty school offered her to come live with them, but she couldn't bring any of the kids. I had a brother 6 years younger than me, and so he was about 2 years old and I was about 8 years old when she decided that she would want to go to beauty school and become a beauty operator, and they offered her that they would room and board her, put her up. She could live with them and go to the school that they owned, and but she couldn't keep us, and so she packed us up a little suitcase. I remember a cigar box or some deal, and put Jerry, my brother, and I on a bus in Dallas to go to Haskell, Texas, which was probably about 300 miles away, and is where I was born and where my grandparents lived. My dad's mother and dad, Rachel and Iron Pearsey, lived, and so we got on that bus, and the bus took us away. So we didn't see our mother again for maybe 6 months to a year. Okay, the first day that I arrived at Olton, mother brought me there. That's the first day I got sight of my future wife. Vina May, and we met each other, and that day outside in the yards, those two houses where the girls were, and Jerry was with me, my brother, and anyway, I met Vina, and I really liked her. First sight, I was really impressed with her, but I was always about a year and a half, 2 years older than Vina, because I had to stay back in school. So I was, at that time when I was 15, where she was only 13. So when I first met her. In Olton, the Methodist Church had the best youth group. Most of the kids in our high school group went to the Methodist Church. So we would go on Sunday to our individual church. She lived right across the street, Vina did, from the Baptist church. So she went to the Baptist church all the time across the street. And I went with my mother to the Church of Christ there in town. So the Church of Christ had a big revival meeting in town where they rented they brought a big tent in and had a revival meeting. They had a special speaker come and give a message, and I went forward. Every time people came forward, they would go and get baptized. And so I did that. Me and my brother. both went and accepted the Lord, and both were baptized in the horse tank. It was a regular revival. He was preaching to save sinners, and that was me. I was 16 at that time. At 18, I joined the Navy 2 years later. We lived 5 years in Olton. We went to junior high and high school. I played a lot of sports, and Vina played a lot of sports. She was a good athlete, and so she participated in tennis, played volleyball on the team, on the high school teams. That's what I'm talking about, for teams. And I ran track and played football. It was mostly those two sports is what I excelled in. The year that I was going to enter into high school, I went to the mountains up in Colorado. I joined the Boy Scouts. I spent a lot of time with the Boy Scouts. My stepdad was never home too much at all because he was superintendent of roads, and so he wasn't home a great deal. So I enjoyed the Boy Scouts because I kind of looked up to the scout leader as a dad or a father. He talked to me like a son, and I enjoyed the relationship I had in the Boy Scout system. And I studied and made my way all the way to an Eagle Scout. I was real proud of the fact that I made Eagle Scout, and I was in high school at that time. But we had a lot of good adventures with the Scout system, and I learned a lot about ropes and knots and stuff. Later years in the Navy, it came in real handy to know all that stuff. In my senior year, that was the year Pearl Harbor happened, and so all of us boys were interested in going in the service. So we talked to the superintendent of schools about if we four of us joined the Navy together, would we get our diplomas? This was at Christmas time, at midterm, and he said, yeah. Said he came back to us and said he looked up our records, and we'd been pretty good. None of us got thrown out of high school, and that we had enough units that our mothers could get our diplomas when we graduated. That we'd be gone, and so he agreed to that. And so the four of us went to Lubbock and joined the Navy. I knew I was leaving, so it was a big deal. So I went to Clovis, and so I went and spent a day with her, and we had a date that night and everything. So we agreed that we would write while I was going to the Navy, that we would write each other and everything, and see that we still loved each other like we always did, and didn't have. So both of us were pretty well settled on each other, and we talked about we would correspond, and while I was away in the Navy, we would actually keep in touch with each other, and we wrote love letters back and forth for 4 years. I didn't get any spiritual training or anything in the service. I did go to church on board ship, but it was pretty ceremonial. I didn't have any growth that I knew of in the Word, but it helped me. It kept me out of trouble. A lot of times the Lord talked to me about temptations that I had in the Navy and stuff that that the Lord kept me real clean of trouble. And I really never got into the Word until we got back. I got married, got back home, and we got into a church north of down the chapel, and we got leave and got home, and I was ready to get married. And she said, I don't think so. She said, I think we ought to know each other more than what we do. We haven't been around each other in 2 years, 30 days was up on the leave. My captain sent me a telegram saying that the ship was going to have to stay in dry docks longer than they thought, and they give me 10 more days of leave. And so I said, so let's get married. We got 10 days left. So she agreed. Okay, that's good. I think I've spent 30 days with you. I know what you're like. And so we got married. We got married in Plainview, Texas. I was only 20, so I had to have my parents' permission. And so we had to put it off a day to do that, to go get the paperwork and get that done, because I'd been in the service fighting for 2 years in the war. And to come home, I had to get my parents' permission to get married. That was a little shocking. 10 days is all we had together after we got married. And then I went back overseas for another 2 years. And when the war ended, but I had been in long enough that I would be the first one that could get out. But we were in the Yellow Seas. They dropped the atomic bomb when we were at Okinawa. We'd been there 3 months bombarding Okinawa, making the landings there. And then after the bombing, we went up to the Yellow Sea and spent a bunch of time taking, I was a boatswain, so I had to land, take the diplomats into each little town along the coast of China, the State Department type of thing, to where and so that's when they declared the war over, and I got on a troop ship to come back home. Took about 20 days to get home, just so the slowest ship you ever saw in the life, which is about, 800 or 1,000 guys on board ship, and to come back. So aboard that troop ship, that's about all there was to do, was to play poker. And so I won about $2,800, enough that I could buy a car. When I got home, I had that money to buy a car with, and so that was my gambling days that I liked to never got rid of. The Lord worked it out, though. He convicted me that in those days of my Bible studies and stuff with the Redondo Chapel, and what sin was and through the Word, it's amazing how He would show me where I should drop off in my life that I learned in the Navy. Papa was the one that really was what you'd call an alcoholic. He could drink a couple of beers and could not resist drinking for maybe 5 days off the job. He'd be so drunk that he couldn't work. Just liquor. And so until he got sobered up, he went through AA probably 3 times. Went through the system, getting himself cleaned up, and then he'd fall apart. So some people have it in their blood. Okay, both of my brothers have committed themselves in their lifetime to AA, gone through a drying out system where they, spent 2 weeks in a business, a place that sobers you up, that keeps you up. Both Jerry and Rex both have spent at least once or twice, and it's in their blood. And I'm just saying, I have that in my blood. I know that, and it's evidence that all the way down the line. And I really worry about my grandkids. That blood is still there, and it's dangerous. You have no idea. You got to live through some of that to know how bad it is, what a drunkard is really like. And it's a disease. It's a terrible disease. And Pearsey's blood has got it because Papa was, but he was more sensitive than anybody I ever saw. He's the one that I grew up definitely not wanting to be like that. Everything I saw Papa do, I knew that was in my system. My blood would come from him. And all those different things, the women, the drinking, all that kind of stuff was in his system. And I had to really watch it because that could be me. And I'm just saying, my brother Jerry went through it. My brother, even Rex, and Rex is not even involved with Pearsey. But anyway, it's really bad. And a lot of families get involved with that, and it's a personal deal with their family, the deal. But I've been a real believer in staying away from it, battling it, do everything you can, but don't get involved with it at all. The people that said, oh, just a drink of wine or just a drink, that's not going to hurt anybody. Well, it doesn't unless you got blood that takes you right down the line with it, Because you have no control. I don't know if you ever was around a drunkard or somebody that really, they'll steal, cheat, do anything in the world to get another drink. This type of stuff. So I felt real sorry for Vina to not have a family to fall back on, because we're in California and all the relatives are in Texas. And that's the reason the church was such an arm for us. We latched on to a Sunday school class and friends in that Sunday school class that we made friends forever, because we didn't have any family in California at all, just her and I. And so we pretty much made the church friends our family, our group. And so we still got those friends, that from 50, 60 years ago. One day he come to me and he said, you know what? He said, I got an offer to go up here to a new school, a new university. It's just starting, and they've just put it all together, and they've got an okay to take veterans, and they've got all their credentials together. It's called American Television Laboratories. And he said, they're in Hollywood. You can get your engineering degree in 3 years. And I said, okay, so I went with him. And that's where I met Harry Baker. Finish up my education. I got through, got my degree, and again, Owen had left the university and went with KTTV. When Harry and I got through that year and graduated, we went to him, and he got us a job at KTTV. Anyway, it was a very boring job. Set of headphones, and you watch a couple of meters for 4 hours at a time on a deal. Boring, boring, boring. I mean, no way. But anyway, I worked three months. I went in to talk to this guy, and he kept telling me, he said, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have the job. And then he said, I can tell you what you're making now. That I'm the guy that got you the money you're making now. And a year from now, I can tell you what you're going to make. 10 years from now, I can tell you how much money you're going to be making at this station, you know. I said, that's amazing, you know. And he said, yeah. I said, I just don't think I would like to work for somebody that I didn't have something to do with that. I'm the guy that should be making the grade, not you sitting up here telling me where I'm at. If I don't have the qualities to be a good worker or a good man or something, if I can't be worthy of the raise of the job, I got no business being there, you know. I said, that's not my fault. And I got him and I had a big argument, and I walked out. And Monty and I went down there, and we worked for 2 years in San Pedro in the TV business, service repair business. In the meantime, I'm living in Redondo Beach and servicing my local neighbors out of my garage. I'd fix my garage up. So I started a small business by fixing people's, and Monty lived in Hawthorne, and he had did the same thing in Hawthorne. So we got together and said, you know, we could get together with the two of us, and we could start our own business, you know, and if we could get a storefront someplace. And we started the business and named it after Foy Price. We named it Price Right TV. I had a hard time forgiving my mother for, at 8 years old, handing me my little brother, 2-year-old brother's hand and a cigar box and a suitcase and saying goodbye. I wanted to know how she could do that. How could you send me away and my brother Jerry and with no responsibility at all to give it away? And she just flat told me, she said, I had no other choice, as far as I could see. You know, Mother, I should have went to be with the Fields, your mother's house. She said, well, the answer to that is that when I told them I was going to marry Harvey Pearsey, they told me, you marry him, never come back in this house. Never show up at our house again. You're going to be an ousted daughter. You don't go with him. They really laid the law down. So when I married my husband, I just had to give up the family. And so I had no way to send you to them because they didn't want you. According to her, you know. So, but anyway, those are the kind of questions I sat and asked her. I insisted all of us be there for dinner. We didn't split the stuff up. The kids don't eat now and go later. They eat different. We eat as a family. And I was real strict about eating with the family. We had sharing time a lot around the table about what you do today that you'd like to tell us about or some deal. We did that a lot, involved around. So we did a lot of conversation where you get the family together And I always believed in that. We should do more, as much as we could to keep the family together. Vina loved to teach, and she always taught like the second grade. She liked flannel graphs and all that stuff that you can teach with. So we had tons of that stuff in the garage and the room or special because she has always had all that teaching material. We finally made a special department out of the 9th grade in the Sunday school classes. And so I taught the 9th grade boys for probably 10 years. So we were always involved with teaching most of the time. I was on most of the places that we're at, I was either on the elder board or on the mission board of most every church. And the following through, Scott's doing that in the mission there. And Les has always been involved with the leadership somewhere in the classes. And Mark's always done that. So it's they followed pretty much how I had been doing all the years, getting involved with the church. Always go with what the Lord would want you to do. Always. Make him a part of your decision life. No matter what your thoughts are or your plans or deal, when you start to do something, ask yourself if this is what the Lord would have you do. That you've got God watching you all the time, and he's right with you, and you should have him a part of your decision making. And that's just a good advice, no matter who it is. But especially for all the great grandkids, yeah. Yeah. We've been real fortunate, really. As a family, I am real proud of the fact about how all the kids have come out. I'm just really pleased. It makes my heart warm to know that they're all following the Lord and keeping close to him. I feel like that I can feel God with me. I honestly, and I ask his guidance all the way, every decision I make. And I feel that he's my one and all. He takes care of me all the time, and I walk with him. I'm, if you can believe it, I'm in about, at least 8 Bible classes a week. Right now. And so many Bible studies right now that I cannot do the work to do any work towards a Bible study. I'm just willing to go to the study each day, some of them 2 a day, and just listen and take notes and write and listen to the speakers. But I got the privilege of being in a place that I can do that, and I've been trying to do it, but I end up just listening to them, and it's a good experience. We ask now to be with this film, be with the time that we've had today. We thank thee for your love, and I'm sure down through the background of our parents that has spent a lot of time on their knees in prayer, that your will be done, Lord. Thank you again for walking with the Pearsey family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, Lord.